That's right, Matt. I'm here at 4th and Ute, where 6 structures were damaged in the fire last night, and I spoke to a man who says he's now forced to rebuild his whole life after his own home was destroyed. Yeah, Grace, it was like a scene out of an action movie. Bounty hunters chasing fugitives down this street right here behind me, and one of the fugitives turning around and shooting back at the bounty hunters with a gun. And I spoke to a former bounty hunter earlier today who says this was not a typical situation. Matt and Stephanie, I'm here at US 6 in Palisade, right where that vehicle was found by the riverbank last night. And CSP says a child was ejected from the vehicle and is lucky to be alive after she only sustained minor injuries, but the driver is a different story. Grace, simply put, there's just a lack of water. And when we don't get enough moisture, it's not just our rivers that suffer. That's why the Colorado River District says we need a plan going forward, and it could impact you at home. The case of 2-year-old Samuel Duncan was reopened after Sean O'Byrne was charged with killing his own son Nicholas in late August. And now Samuel's grandmother says she thinks his name belongs on this statue. As a city close to the state line, Grand Junction deals with drug activity not just locally, but also from out of state. And local law enforcement told me just because Grand Junction sees some drug activity, that doesn't necessarily mean we have a drug problem. I'm here at GJPD, where Senator Garner spoke to first responders earlier, and even though there's legislation in the works, he said managing the opioid problem ultimately needs to happen at the local level. Yeah, Gene, I'm here at 28 1/4 Road, just yards away from where that shooting happened last night, and one witness says she saw the victim bleeding on the ground and decided to take action. And the new OneSource building is expected to be done in May of 2019, and people are excited about this facility because it's only about 1.5 miles away from the Grand Junction VA hospital, so vets should have everything they need nice and close by and right here in Grand Junction. Gene?
Man, I dare you.
You think I should just do that?
Do it.
Can I do that?
You can.
All right, fine. I'll give it a shot.
All right. All right. Here he goes. Yeah. And he is in.
Things from the 4th grade that went up in flame in that house.
Alden Hislop has lived by 4th and Ute for 20 years.
We've later scavenged this.
His house, now gone.
This is all I've got left for 20 years of living and 70 years.
All that's left is in this box.
My birth certificate, my son's birth certificate, Social Security.
The fire took almost everything he had.
My records, my CDs, pictures, my high school annuals.
Almost everything.
And that's all I thought about was getting my kitty.
The fire department was just down the street, and that's a good thing because it could have been much worse.
Because this whole block could have gone. We're talking about downtown Grand Junction.
But the fire still took a big part of Alden's life.
It's a big, big hole. It's just a big, big hole.
And his life will restart with a metal box.
So I have to reconstruct my life from this.
It's been about 2.5 years since a child's name was added to this statue right in front of the Mesa County Courthouse. But after a vigil and a moment of silence, one name was added: Nicholas O'Byrne. A moment of silence.
This doesn't have to happen.
We don't want to be here at all.
For a life taken too early.
I would want to hug him. I mean, things happen and it's unexplainable.
Those that showed up to Nicholas O'Byrne's vigil still ask why.
If we could turn back time and change what happened, then things would be better.
Kim says she wanted to show up not just for Nicholas, but for kids everywhere.
It's heart-touching. It's sad. Our community can step up and speak out against child abuse or neglect if they're suspecting it.
For some, remembering Nicholas meant taking action.
We also want people to be aware of the children around them, whether they're in their neighborhood or friends of their own children.
In hopes the 2-month-old's death won't be in vain.
It's an opportunity for us to not forget that the children in our community are all of our responsibilities.
It doesn't come with an instruction booklet on what to do, so when somebody is struggling, they need to just reach out.
They were very happy to see us. They would say Mzungus, Mzungus towards us.
Mzungus. It's a Ugandan term that means
wandering white people or white people.
And even though Jace looked different than them, they soon learned he was there to help.
When we gave them the backpacks, they were overjoyed, like it was Christmas.
Jace went to Uganda because he wanted to give school kids backpacks and supplies through his own nonprofit called Be Generous.
I thought that I was connected, that I was there forever when I was with the kids. It was awesome.
And the students needed some new gear. Jay says the schools themselves were much different than in America.
At our school, we have tons of things. We have a gym. They don't have a gym.
He says it gave him perspective.
When they go to those schools, like, you don't know when something's going to fall or it's scary.
There's just some things American kids take for granted.
The older kids have to go to the watering hole 2 times a day. They walk half a mile there and back to get the water.
And the backpacks aren't just used for school.
In Uganda, there was a lot of stealing, so they would have to carry their stuff around when they can just swap on their backpack and run with it.
Jay says he would do it all again in a heartbeat.
Overjoyed. I'd like to say something that would really mean it, but I can't find the words to say that.
These veterans might seem calm and collected on the outside, but they carry with them stories of pain, patriotism, and sacrifice. And even though soldiers are the ones who go to war, they aren't the only ones that serve our country. A Memorial Day salute to those that served.
Do it for a soldier. Do it for a mother who lost a child.
And for every veteran, there is a story.
I graduated from high school in '42.
Of sacrifice.
Went over to New Guinea and up to Okinawa, and I was on Okinawa when the war ended.
And of a common bond.
Doing the job, let's say, helping out the United States.
God bless America, my home.
But it's not just soldiers that paid a price.
She had a rougher go than I did many, many days while I was gone, but she did a wonderful job.
We sent little cassette tapes back and forth, and once in a while he would get to call. But our children all missed him.
A soldier's family must also serve their country.
I could hardly get to him to hug him because all the children came to hug him.
That's why these brave men and women say it's important to recognize those still with us and those who paid the ultimate price for our freedom.
And it's just meaningful to recognize them in the aspect of doing something that not many people would volunteer to do.
With the man who confessed to killing her, Edgar Macias Marino.
I just don't believe he would do it. You know, there's no way.
An unexplained murder leaves the town of Hotchkiss still in shock.
I just didn't expect Eddie to be, you know, the person to do something like that.
Resident Daniel Madrano says he knew the suspect, Edgar Macias Marino, and the victim, Madeline Lowe, personally.
We did everything. We all hung out. Like, we all had fun, you know, and work was just good. And
that's why the reality is hard to swallow.
You know, I didn't expect Maddie's life to be taken at, 27 years old.
Marino has confessed to the crime.
Took it to a rural area in Utah, several hundred miles from here, and just dumped it.
And told officers where the body was.
He got us close enough to where the Millard County team, search and rescue, and deputies were able to locate it.
It's a murder with little explanation.
There was an argument that they had. We're not sure exactly what that was.
They don't seem to be that type of couple, that have conflict with anybody.
And there are still questions unanswered.
I believe Eddie's still a good person. I just don't know why he did what he did.
We have to make sure that we can not just get by, but thrive.
Governor candidate Jared Polis stopped in Grand Junction to talk to locals.
We've had over 40 free meet and greets across western Colorado.
After he turned down the invite to the Club 20 debate in September, Polis says he's more focused on the people.
We just want to hear from people in their communities, and I think people value that kind of authenticity.
Specifically, creating jobs for the people.
I'm somebody that can make things happen, and I'm excited to bring that passion around economic development and job creation to western Colorado.
He also wants to focus on energy.
We want to make sure that we can build the renewable energy economy right here in Colorado when we're talking about siting solar and wind.
However, Polis and his opponent Walker Stapleton are both against Initiative 97, which, if passed, would mean new oil and gas developments must be at least 2,500 feet from any occupied structure.
The advocates of those initiatives are bringing it up in a way that I think we need a little bit more flexibility than what they're offering.
He says he wants to see the industry succeed.
Oil and gas and ag are commodities-based economies. We've seen these downturns in this area when times aren't good. So the more diversification we can have of our economy, the better.
And at the end of the day, he has one goal in mind.
We need to make sure that we're here for the long term and we can maintain and improve that quality of life in Western Colorado.
In Grand Junction, I'm Jason Berger, KKCO 11 News.
This is a crisis that's affected every single one of us.
Senator Cory Gardner was in town to talk drugs.
We're seeing more and more deaths in Colorado from substance abuse, prescription drug overdose.
At the meeting, law enforcement said they are feeling the heat.
I think the thing that stood out the most were the increased demands on our first responders.
Gardner says he's working through the legislature to fight the epidemic.
One of the bills that I have carried that will pass this week deals with the advertisements that pharmaceutical companies are carrying out, making sure that they're not misleading.
And says fentanyl is a top priority.
We're going to pass legislation this week out of the Senate that would give the post office greater tools to find that fentanyl, to discover that, to take it out of the system and trace back.
He also points to the Comprehensive Addiction Recovery Act as a local answer.
To get local providers, local communities engaged in drug take-back programs, counseling programs.
Because to get ahead of the opioid problem, it starts on the streets.
And that's what we've tried to do, is pass legislation that doesn't prescribe a one-size-fits-all solution out of Washington, but lets local communities make that decision for themselves on what's best.